So first up with us, we're talking coaching, and maybe a couple of things. We've got Coach Mike, as he introduced himself this morning, Mike Petrino, which of course is really important to me because he's from Montana, which is where well, chronologically grew up. I don't know if I grew up in Montana. So Coach Mike is with us, and Coach Mike is an assistant coach. You've been with Coach P, I think is what you said earlier. Gordy Presnell, and he's been coaching here forever.
Yep, he's done an amazing job here. He's done an amazing job at this program. He's been two different schools, Seattle Pacific and Boise State. And
how many decades?
He's coming in on close to 4 decades, I think. So he's been. I think the hardest thing to have is success and stability, and he's proved both. He's the all-time winningest coach at Seattle Pacific, and he's the all-time winningest coach at Boise State. So that's hard to find nowadays.
Coach Mike, I'm going to stop you right there because to get that kind of consistency, your main, I know you want to win, but I imagine that it's about more than that. It's about building young women, building character, discipline, and then these things pay out over time as you then build the program.
No, absolutely. I mean, coaching to me is engaging with players. You get a group of people. Every team's different. I've been fortunate. 18 years was coaching high school basketball, then got into college. This is my 12th year. Every team is different, but I think with every personality, how you bring that group together, and then just have that consistent effort. You need a lot of support along the way. But every team is different, and I think it's really fun to take a team from one spot and develop it all the way throughout the season and then beyond. I mean, that's why we go into coaching is relationships, right? It's why we all do the passion of our job is to meet people, engage with them, and then build something together and help them out.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We're going to come back to that. But first, I'm going to go back. You're from
Montana. I grew up in Kalispell, so it's great to see to meet you. Another Montana connection. We got people on the crew here from Montana.
Yeah, we do. And thank you to the crew from Montana and from I don't know where Tabor's from, but thank you, Boise. I think we'll take that. We love it here in Boise.
Oh, love it here. Yeah, we were just talking about
winters or the lack thereof here in Boise. We love it. And so what pulled you into coaching? What was the thing?
I think honestly it was a former teacher who asked me to coach a junior high team. And I was in college, first year in college, and I was like, I don't know, but first of all, I looked really young. I was coaching, I said I would do it, but then she told me I was going to coach a girls team. And I looked really young. I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I was a little nervous at first. I didn't have any sisters growing up. And then, and in Montana, as you know, growing up, girls basketball used to be in the fall and boys basketball used to be in the winter. Yep. And that's very rare. So for the first 8 years I ever coached, and I coached 1 year in middle school and then got into high school. But that's 16 seasons, 8 years. And it was awesome. It was a great experience. Coaching both women and men taught me at an early age that there really there's differences, but there's more similarities.
Very good.
And it was, as you know, in Montana, the community support is great.
Yes.
So the whole town is involved.
Yep.
And you got to meet, so many different people. And again, those 8 years, 16 seasons taught me so much. And then you just have so many mentors when you start coaching that you fall in love with this, it becomes a labor of love.
Yeah. And
you fall in love with the process, and you pick everyone's brains and ask them how they do things. You love watching coaches. You love studying teams. I love studying coaches at all different levels. I love studying all leaders at all different levels. I think there's so much that goes into that. And from there, it just went into it. And I never, ever dreamed I'd make a career out of it. That got me going to school to change my major to education. Loved teaching. I was in the classroom. I've taught in Montana and in Oregon. And then now I've coached in Montana, Oregon, Wyoming, Colorado and Idaho. So I've been all over here. It's been a great journey. I look back at it. I actually met my wife through coaching. It's a separate story, but it's brought a lot of wonderful memories, a lot of great relationships of staying in touch with players.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you. And you have two girls.
Yep, two daughters. Proud girl dad. One's a sophomore and one's a fifth grader. And
Are they ballers?
well, they play basketball, which is great, but it's never forced on them. They get to be around it. They get to meet a lot of exceptional people who happen to play basketball. I can remember I was coaching University of Wyoming. My oldest daughter learned to write letters and numbers from watching from the roster.
Oh yeah.
Remember the old one used to write? They had the old dotted lines used to color on or write on. She learned to write names that way. So I have two daughters who've grown up in the gym watching. They also get to know these kids, and that's been the fun part.
They've made some great relationships.
Great relationships. I think that's the best part. My wife we get the Christmas cards and we put them on the fridge, and you send yours all out, and then we get some back and we put them on the fridge, and then for that next month I always call it our trophy case, because we got all these Christmas cards, and they're from former players or their families, and now they're married. Now they have announcing their growing families. It's a special thing.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, one of the reasons we thought it would be great to have you here is as our clients and folks that aren't yet clients, we hope will be, they're thinking ahead. And again, many of them, in fact, I read some statistics the other day that said 90% of folks over 65 plan, not just want to, but plan to stay in their house. And the typical plan when you ask them is, yeah, I'm just going to be in the house. And then at 95, one morning, I just won't wake up. And that isn't quite how it works. It's not that easy. And in fact, the folks that do the best, of course, have done their planning. And not just estate planning, but they've planned financially. They've worked on their health. They've found a situation as far as a home or independent living apartment that works for them. So those are the ones that have the most success. And what we see is that they've put together a team. So maybe you can talk to us about pulling together a team. Because in my head, right, if I were to go out and recruit a basketball team, I'd want them all to be 6'7", 6'8", but individuals at 6'7", 6'8" can't do everything. Mm-hmm. So then, okay, well, then I just want a bunch of short, fast people that can move the ball. Well, that's only so helpful. So educate me. How do we pull together a team?
Well, recruiting has never been more challenging or fluid, right? With all the changes that have happened. Well, first of all, I think you go back, we'll get to that part, but your team, as you say, your coaching staff, you got to be on the same page. You got to communicate, get to know them. What does Coach P like? What's worked for him in the past? But as far as our assembling our team, we just look for those valued members who are going to be engaged in a common goal. And if anybody has an agenda that's different, that's going to cause issues, right?
Yeah.
And so if anybody has an agenda, or you can't get on the same page, and you may not always start on the same page, right? We all know this. You bring all these personalities together.
Oh no, they don't all have personalities.
Yeah, they all personalities, and it's not about what one personality can't dominate it, right? But the best teams I've ever been on are not coach led. The best teams I've ever been on are player and coach led.
Oh, very good.
Because if those are the best groups.
So what does that look like? Tell me what that looks
like. Well, it means that you have a group of people who can first of all, be committed to working hard together, can handle success. Mm-hmm. Because if ego gets involved, then we go to the individual agenda again, and can handle adversity, can handle failure, because you're going to fail. at some point. You're gonna have bad practices. You're gonna have bad day at the office and a game. How do you handle those things?
It's possible you get a bad call from the officiating.
Those are all things you can't control. I think one of the coolest things that Coach P has in his we have a film room, and we do goal boards like everybody else, right? You do a goal board, and if your team wins a championship, that goal board stays in the room forever.
Very good.
So we have goal boards as recent as 2020. We have goal boards that go back to 2006. Okay. So now I'm actually recruiting players who are actually born in 2006, which is really crazy to think
about. Oh my goodness.
But the goal boards, it's a constant reminder of everybody who goes to our current team. They walk in, they're surrounded by these championship boards. All those teams went through tough times. All those teams went through moments of success and moments of adversity and failure, but they somehow finished the year on the high note. And I think it's a great tradition to have. How your team gets to get along together, chemistry is the X factor. You have a team that's great on paper, but chemistry will influence whether you overachieve or underachieve. There might be a dream team out there, right? We've all seen it in life, and on paper, like there's no way this team's gonna fail. But chemistry, they underachieve. There might be a team that comes out of nowhere. No one picked them. And they're going to come out and they're going to make history and they're going to do all these great things. And everyone's going to talk in the interviews. We just get along so well. We just, there's that common bond. Chemistry helped that team overachieve. So assembling a team, anybody can do that. It's the growth period. That's the key, right? It's how can we handle these things? How can we confront the issues? I picked up a saying that we tell our players, communicate issues before they become problems.
Okay, I was just going to say, now, a lot of this chemistry is communication.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If we can communicate the issues before they become problems, we'll have a better chance. If we wait till it's a problem, it's going to be harder to solve, right? So planning ahead, like you talked about, communicate questions. We're obviously big on, like everybody else, hey, let's talk about the hard stuff. Communicate these issues. Hey, I have an issue with this. If I have a player that says to me, hey, Mike, I have an issue with, you asked me a question about something I wasn't involved with. Oh, well, let's talk about this. We communicated an issue. All right, we're done. Or I've communicated an issue of, hey, what happened yesterday? You weren't really into it. Well, I bombed a test. I'm having a hard time at home. Okay, well, great. Let's talk about this thing. Okay, now how can I help you next time it happens?
Got it.
Communicate those issues before they become problems. Otherwise, they're just hard to solve.
So one thing that I'm sitting here that's coming to me is the clarity of the goals, right? When you've got the goal board up, and part of that is clarity. This is what we want, and together, and then so is that the coach's job to communicate that to the team? Is it the team's job to catch on to this? What's the interaction like?
I go back to that statement I said earlier. A player and coach-led program is better, right? So I think we have to do it together. We as coaches got to be able to communicate. When I was a head coach, I always thought that the thing I knew chemistry was important to build the players together. What you sometimes overlook when you're a head coach is you got to make sure your staff chemistry is good too. Leading adults is sometimes harder than leading kids. Okay, so you got to make sure there's communication there on those issues. So that the communicate issues before they become problems is for everybody. And what you're talking about, and at your wheelhouse, your area is, it's hard to have those tough conversations.
Yes, it is.
It's hard to have those tough conversations, and I think when the prehistoric coach was always just one emotion, right? It was always fear. You can't do that today.
Yeah.
I think a good coach today has to show all emotions, right? They have to show encouragement. They have to be demanding. They have to have all more diverse emotions. Would you agree? And
from the couch coach,
yeah,
an offensive coordinator, defensive, sitting on the couch, I'm sitting there going, yeah, you gotta be able to explain it.
Yeah.
And I'm an old scoutmaster, did that for almost 50 years. Anyhow, they gotta know.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a member of my team that gets irritated when I don't lose my cool when something bad happens. She's come to me and says, "No, you got to tell us. You got to let us know." And I go, "Yeah, if I want to." Anyhow, but I think you have to, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned clarity, because if I, rule out of fear, it's not going to get very far.
No.
But when you have tough conversations and you explain why, if you say, "Hey, we're having a hard time with this. Let's talk about this. Here's where you're at. Here's where I think you could be at. And this tough conversation is going to lead to a better spot down the road for our team. We're going to grow." And the number of kids who you have early in your coaching career on a team that are first year, second year, the growth they get to is.
And then you depend on them.
Oh, you depend on them when they're younger too. You do. You help them get there. But you can't do it alone. One of my former players I used to hear this all the time from you. I would say, "Hey, life's a team sport. Life's a team sport. So we have to find a way to do this together. Nobody can be born in life and do well on their own, right? You're born into a family that you're raised to take care of. No one can just start the world here and just do it on their own. It's not independent. So life's a team sport. You have to work together. And that's within the team. It's within your family. It's within your professional career, all those things. And you end up saying so much, it becomes kind of mute yourself. But then when you have players remind you of it, it's kind of fun to see that too. So
have it come back at you. Well, I think that something that is easy to do if you watch sports on TV is to go, "That's the team. Those 5 basketball players right there, that's the team." And if you go and watch it in person, in IRL, I learned this morning, in real life, right?
Oh, there we go. Look at you. Maybe you know that. Look at you.
Learned that this morning. But when you go and you sit, and now you're seeing coach, and you're seeing all the basketball players, not just the 5 that are on the court, and you're watching the coach has a feel for, well, I need to move this one in and move that one out, and we got to stay within our plan. The team is not 5 people.
No, we have a great, in our situation, we have players and coaches, but we have managers that do so much. These are your kids who, either volunteer or get paid to be a part of the team, and they're very valued. And how well our players treat them, how well our coaches treat them is vitally important. Because if we model bad behavior, then we can't get mad if the kids do it.
Yeah.
We have a administrative team that helps us. We have weekly meetings with people from marketing. The biggest area right now is with graphics and film, right? Putting these together, these highlights. We're a more visual society than ever, right? So we have an amazing team of people who follow us and film things and put together this memory of a road trip. We used to pull out photo albums, right? Now they pull their phones or play videos, and that's how you engage, right? We can't use the old photo album to recruit now. We have to show videos. We have to show. You have to adjust, right? You have to adjust the times. But that team of people support ticketing to marketing to audiovisual is so important to us. And then obviously our admin team is huge. Our fan base is huge. People who, I think women's basketball has got a very loyal fan base. They love getting to know the players outside. Very few of our players will go and play professionally. They might play in Europe. They might play. It's harder to play in the States, but they build a relationship with these players and they stay in touch with them and see them advance their family. So the team is wider than ever. It's so valuable. And when you have a passionate fan base, it's amazing what it can do for your team and university. And that's what I'll say about here. When I came to Boise State, I've been, like I said, coaching now 18 years, high school, 12 college. One of the first things that ever happened that was rare was Coach P and I have a few conversations. We decided we're going to make this move, my family, And he tells me, okay, it's official. The next day, I have this Idaho number calling me. I think it's like HR, right? Okay, HR, get your things going. It's not public yet. It's the athletic director, Jeremiah Dickey, who calls me to welcome me to Boise State. I'm an assistant women's basketball coach who's getting welcomed by the AD. And then I got reached out by our SWA, Christina. And then they're asking me how the move's going. They know that we want to go into one area, help our kids go to one school. They're asking for updates. That was leadership. And that's part of a team that you want to be really part of, proactively doing that. They need to do that. I thought it was really impressive.
So for me then, if I am, we won't mention my age, but let's say that I was cruising into the mid 60s, collecting Social Security or getting on Medicare. That's not true. But
No,
let's
right.
say that I were.
Yeah. Hypothetical here.
Hypothetically, thank you. I need to really sit down and get clear on what the next 25, 30 years, what I want it to look like. Because otherwise it might happen, most likely it won't. So I got to get clear.
Yeah.
And then going out and finding a team to help me. I can't find that team until I'm clear about what the goal is.
Agree. I think you're in the hypothetical you painted is like less of recruiting. We're trying to find these key pieces, right? We're in the collect information phase. Let's collect as much information as we can about this individual, how they help fit this, forecasting, planning.
Do you ever talk to like high school coaches?
Oh yeah, you collect information. You talk to everybody. I think, recruiting is, like I said, more challenging than ever, right? It's in my 12 years of coaching at this level, I've learned there's myths and facts about recruiting. And one of my self-proclaimed fact is I think that adults screw recruiting up more than kids do.
That is not surprising. That doesn't surprise me.
Adults screw up more than kids do. And adults could be college coaches, can be club coaches, parents. It can be.
We get to a certain age and we know.
Yeah.
Right. We're not open.
Yeah.
And we expect the kids, of course, to be open.
Yeah.
But
we want to live vicariously through them. We want to tell them what they should do.
Yes.
And I've only been parenting a teenager for a little bit of time, but I know that if you tell them what to do, that doesn't always work. Rarely does. At least success rate.
Yeah.
But yeah, you talk to parent, you talk to coaches, you talk to everybody you can to find out what kind of person
who this person is.
And you rely on recommendations of people who you trust, right? So
yeah. So do you ever get a phone call?
Oh yeah.
That says, "Hey, Coach Mike, you got to see this gal. She is a player and she is a top-notch individual." Do you get those kinds of phone calls?
Yeah, absolutely. Every day. Every day we get emails. Every day we get somebody reaching out. And if it's someone you know and you have a high respect for, you want to keep following up with that. But again, you're in the collect information phase, right? You're collecting all this information, finding out what's good. How does it fit you?
Right.
If there's a kid who's really talented, but they're looking for a demographic or a school or an academic major that is not us, well, we can't do that.
It's not a right fit.
Yeah. But if we do find someone that's a match, you build that relationship, right? You want to watch them. How do they handle success? How do they handle adversity? How do people talk about them who can't, who doesn't have a immediate contact? Like, how do teachers respond to them? Being in the classroom, former classroom, I love talking to people who are in the building. How's this person? Oh, they're great. Or if there's issues, then you don't want to recruit drama. The job's hard enough.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And
I have 4 daughters.
Okay.
And there was a time, we never had 4 teenagers. 4 teenage girls in the house at one time, because one was usually, for the last one was a teenager, the older one had moved out. But drama, oh my gosh, I don't know, it's like a magnet or something. And And yeah, you can't just say, oh, you need to do this. And that's not the essence of parenting either. It's really a lot of coaching. And you got to be prepared to let them fail.
Right. And be there for them when they do.
Yeah.
That's the thing too.
What did you learn
right?
from it?
Yeah. And you have 4 daughters. I have 2, so it's a
basketball team.
Yeah, you have a team. I feel like when you have kids, it makes you become a better listener. Whether now I'm a slow learner, so it's just a lot to get there. But it makes you become better listeners because we can't solve everything for them. We want to fix it.
Yeah.
So there's that adventure of it. But again, the collect information phase, recruiting, it's all about finding what's a good fit for you and then moving forward with that and then, making the most of it. I think in your hypothetical, I bet you've seen common trends of good things and a good checklist and a unforeseen or,
oh yeah,
checklist. I think educating people on that process is huge. I think it's fun when we talk about recruits. We've had recruits here every weekend, right? Football games are obviously a big time for kids to come here unofficially, visit. When we do that, it's great to talk about the process. I think the best way to earn trust with recruits and their families is not just tell them all about you. It's to talk about the process. Here's the highs and lows of it. Here's the reality of it. 2 biggest myths are in recruiting. I tell the families is that it's all glamorous. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay. This is not all glamorous. It's okay to talk about the hard parts. It's going to be stressful at times. It's going to be overwhelming at times. You have to live in the moment.
Yeah.
Yet forecast for the future a little bit. And you're going to hear the word no at some point. That's hard. Every kid's got a dream school, right? They're here no. If they have multiple people pursuing their skill set and personality because they want to be part of their program, they're going to have to tell somebody no.
Yes.
That's hard. So it's not all glamorous. The other thing is that there's a biggest myth, I think, is there's a perfect place out there. Well, there's no such thing as a perfect place. There's no perfect person. My wife can tell you that. So there's no perfect person, there's no perfect place. You have to find what is best for you. What are the things that are most important to you? Whether it's location, size of school, style of play, all those things, academic interest. What ones are most important to you? Which one's the best fit for you?
So we see this. I think we're getting better, but we see a lot of this. For example, I had one older lady, was in an older home, much older home. She raised her kids there. It was 4,500 square foot, which is good sized. Her husband passed away, and so we engaged in the conversation. What are you going to do about the house? Well, I'm going to live here. I'm going to stay here. I'm keeping it for the kids. Well, it wasn't updated. It was dangerous. There was old 1970s burnt orange, high pile shag carpet. And, there's just all these opportunities for her to trip and fall. And she's up there by herself. Her kids don't live here. And that was a difficult conversation, but there was that aspect you were talking about of maybe having to say no. And this one was to herself. She needed to and find the best fit, which was not her own home. So while she's in the office, we called her son. I said, hey, listen, now, your mom's in this home. She goes, yeah, she's driving me crazy. She can't keep up the yard, it needs a new roof. And he went on and on. I go, well, yeah, but she's holding this house for you. And he just stopped. He got quiet. He goes, I'm never coming back to Boise. I don't want that house. She needs to leave. But I think it was the first time she had that conversation. Yeah. So gathering information can be difficult.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what happened. We got out of the process. We were left out of the process after that. But that was one of those situations where the best situation, she didn't want the best situation. She wasn't clear on what she needed.
Yeah. She thought that the house for the kid, and they didn't want it.
They didn't want it.
They didn't want that.
And what it was costing her emotionally and physically and financially to be in that house, that was a huge cost, and it was misplaced, which I think is what you were talking about with, don't recruit drama, don't bring in something that just isn't going to work. Let's find the best situation and help the players succeed. And she was not helping herself to find, the team that would help her succeed.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you've seen that same story, I bet, more than once.
I several dozens
Yeah.
of dozens of times. Yeah.
How far ahead does the average success story plan like this? I mean,
interesting. The ones that because stuff happens.
Yeah.
There's a fall,
Life
you
happens,
break your hip, they have a stroke or some other, but the ones that can manage that and have, I think, the most success, they're starting well before they retire.
really?
They start thinking about it. And so there's the old adage, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now. So if they come into us and they've retired, it's a good time to start thinking about, okay, what if? What if? And if something happens to you and your wife is in this house by herself, is that what you want? And it's interesting when they finally sit down and address those questions, man, the thinking, you've seen this as you've coached, all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, they're getting it. They're finally, well, you think they are anyway.
Yeah.
They are, though, in the game, right? If you do all this coaching, you can hear them go, yeah, coach, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
But you don't know they got it until
they perform it. Yeah. They produce. And in the recruiting process, it's similar. Like we have families who, or everyone asks, when do you start? Some people start really early and it can work out great. Some people start late in the recruiting process. They can still work out great. The shorter the time, the more efficient conversations you got to have, right?
Yes.
And timing is everything, like you talked about, with unexpected things happening. So every story is different.
The same, right?
I'm seeing parallels here. Every story is different. Every journey is different. The goal is the same, right? Finding a good spot, a good fit.
Success,
yeah.
High quality, safe. I want my parents in a good place.
Yeah.
I think that's the same for people.
The timelines might be different.
Yes.
But the efficiency of collecting information and using multiple resources to look at are still the same, I think.
Oh, very good. Very good. All right. So help me to understand as we go about pulling our team together. How do you figure out? I mean, there's character, there's talent, but there are different roles, right? Yeah. I mean, generally you have a center and a couple of forwards and, a shooting guard and a point guard. I mean, that's kind of the classic situation. How do you figure all that out? Well,
there's a skill set, obviously, that everyone has. A skill set, there's an athleticism that everybody has, and then there's like a toughness factor. I think the great competitors are the toughest kids, right? And it's not just on the court, it's in the strength room. Remember, there was a time when lifting was considered bad for you basketball players, right?
Yeah.
Pre-Michael Jordan, I always say, where lifting was a luxury, now it's a necessity. So we have a great strength coach who our kids work out year round. That's probably the funnest
part of the team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Our strength coach travels with us. Our strength coach, a great young lady who actually went to school as a swimmer at Boise State, and her passion is helping athletes, develop life skills. And we have, expanding our team, we have a full-time strength coach, we have a full-time nutritionist.
Oh yeah.
We have mental health advocates. We have our athletic department has funded resources for mental health because life is hard and resources. It's more mainstream now, which is great. So that's very important to have that. But how they act in the weight room, how they act in the classroom, how they act on the court, develop these strengths. On On the court, though, it's just a chemistry, right? It's a skill set you build up. Some days some teams your best player might be someone near the basket. Some teams
Right.
the best player might be someone plays the point guard, whatever. I think that's over time you have to learn to adapt. You just can't have one system fits all. You have to play to your strengths.
So how many games do you play? How many different teams do you typically play?
Well, we'll play. We have 11 teams in our conference, so we'll play, everybody twice except for 2 teams who play once. We have our tournament at the end of the year. Before that, we have, a handful. An average season could go 30 games. That's not counting our exhibition games. That's not
And
counting
that's 13, 14, 15 different teams.
Yeah. It's sometimes you play twice. That's always fun to see how you measure up the second time you play them. Obviously, some teams you play at home, some teams you play on the road, some are neutral site games. Those are all,
So how often when you're doing this, how often are you able to go out there and say, here's our system, this is the way we're playing today, and you can impose your will on the other team versus you have that put together and you go out there and go, oh, you know what, they got a pretty good thing going and we have to adjust.
Well, there's a process where we talked about being so visual society, right? Well, everyone's got film to study.
But by the way, my buddy in high school was the guy clear up on the top.
There you go.
Filming the football game.
Nowadays, we can film practice, we can clip it up, and we can send it to their kids' phones that day, and they can watch.
Holy cow!
So you take a 2-hour practice, and you can make it now that's the other thing. Your attention span audience.
Do you make it a TikTok with music?
I don't do the TikTok yet. It's funny when you're recruiting, the older you get, you have to stay hip with the times, right? So, but there's things I do follow on social media, and there's things I will not follow. I do not do Snapchat. I don't think a guy my age should be on Snapchat with. So I don't do that. I don't do the TikTok thing. Now my daughters will share it with me, which I always say that if we adults start doing TikTok will end. Right, because that's the best way to do. If we don't like trends that are going on with kids, we start doing them, it'll stop.
And it'll stop.
If I start doing TikTok, I guarantee my daughters will quit doing TikTok. So I'm helping TikTok stay in business maybe by not doing it, right? But we can watch it, and then we can take a 2-hour practice, put clips together that are under 10 minutes, and send that to the kids nowadays. So when you play an opponent now, hey, we're not the only ones that film. They have film on us too.
Yeah.
So everyone can have a plan going to a game. It still comes down to what teams execute the plan. And it's not like Mike Tyson did. Mike Tyson famously say, everyone's got a plan until they got hit. Then
Get hit in the face.
Then their plan somehow ends. It's a different world out there. But it's part of the IQ process too. We have kids who I've coached many kids who weren't the most athletic, but had a great IQ and a great competitive fire. And those are kids who do well in life too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's fun to see that. And so everybody has a different skill set. I think the more diverse skill set you have, the more balance you have, the more depth you have. You got to stay healthy. I used to say there's 4 things every team and every sport face. They face the teams you play in your schedule. They face injuries. We used to face COVID. We still do kind of. And then we face drama. Those are the 4 most common challenges every team has in any sport, at any level. And how well you do those things helps determine your season, I think.
Yeah. So when you were asking earlier, when should people start thinking about, getting into their 80s, late 70s and 80s and 90s, the sooner that they can think about their health, physical, of course, and mental health. And we have someone who's going to be visiting with us about that. The sooner that they have, the more they have improved their odds of living healthy into their later years. We're going to have a gentleman come and talk to us about brain health. And I love what he has to say. He goes, I don't talk about brain health, it's health. And the more your blood flow and all that, that affects the brain. Now, there's some other things you could do, but he likes us to be, maximizing diet and exercise, getting out there, getting the blood flowing. These are all things people can start at a relatively young age. Now, is that something that you see with some of the players? You go, you know what, they've been physically active, they've been pursuing this from a younger age, or are they young enough that you go, no, we can get them
Well, every player goes, I mean, there's definitely a maturity and growth that everybody's different with, right? Some of the taller kids you have need a little more time to develop their bodies, their coordination, so forth. I think where we see that scenario more is if they have a serious injury.
Oh yeah,
because uh, we know that if someone goes through a serious injury, you have to really watch their mental health, because they feel like they may be failing people, right? Because they came to this school because of their skill set, and now because they can't help the school, they feel less about themselves.
well, it's a team thing too.
So
I'm
you
letting
have
the
to make
team
sure
down.
you provide the resources, you're checking on them. I think that's the hardest thing sometimes, is you're so involved with your team, right? That you have to make sure you include those going through a long rehab process to know that they are valued. It's a short-term thing, but trying to tell a young person that it's a short-term thing is challenging, right? They
Well,
think it's
for
the world.
4 years
Yeah.
goes quick.
Yeah.
And so for them to go, I have to sit out for 5 games or 10
Or a
games
year.
or a
If
year
they
even.
suffer a knee injury, that might be a 9-month recovery, and now you don't want to rush them back too soon.
No.
And we have an amazing training staff who watches that. And I think helping them through that, again, that's a new, we didn't plan for that. So
It's the backup.
what is our plan when this happens?
Yeah.
And what are the resources we have, and how do we do this? And how do you keep them engaged in the current moment, but seeing towards the future? And then the success of when they do come back. Now in the end, they're there to get their degree. But you still have to make them feel valued. Just because they can no longer play on the court every day in practice, they're still valued by how well they're doing their classes, how well they're doing the rehab. How can we help them? How can we help the families that they're sometimes away from them, a distance, right? You have the distance factor, which you guys see.
Yep.
And how do you make sure that they know what's going on in the plan? How do they feel like, hey, things are going in a good direction? We're in a temporary situation, but we're going to get to the good part here. Again, communication, clarity. So those are challenges in itself too, but you just have a good team, and we have a great a great training staff right now who helps with that. So, and the training staff works with our strength coach, who works with our mental health resources, to make sure that individual is in a good spot for life, not just their sport.
Yeah. All right. This is not really a trick question. There's a reason I'm asking it this way. So how often do you have the family come and do the conditioning and the strength and the recovery and all that? How often do they come in and just take that over?
Well, I think the player, like themselves, physically do those things.
Yeah.
We haven't had that happen. I think there's some liability forms you'd probably have to sign, right?
Well, my take is because that's often the plan.
Sure. They want to be hands-on.
Oh, well, we've got two parts that we've got the moms going, oh, my kids will take care of me. I'll move in with my daughter.
Yep.
And they don't necessarily have the training,
right?
The ability to do that.
No, that's a great point. Again, go back to life's a team sport. You have to put a backseat to the experts. We'd never tell a kid if they can practice or can't practice. That's always the training staff. And if you don't want to last in coaching, you try to become educated, certified trainer.
Pick one of these other slots and try to.
You're right. When you're coaching, you have to sometimes coach from the front, and sometimes you have to coach from the back. And you have to trust the experts on, this is what their thing is, right? This is their job. This is what they do.
And it's not that the family doesn't have a strong role in this whole thing.
Right. Their intention might be there, but.
Well, and for our older couples, when they have an issue, they need a little bit extra help. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that families can do. Mm-hmm. But when it gets to we need trained personnel to mm-hmm. do it. We really the relationship really transitions, and now they're no longer one of the kids.
Right.
They're no longer my daughter. They're now my caregiver. And just like your staff, caregiver has to learn how to say no.
Mhm.
No, we can't do that. We can do this. And we're now forcing that onto the kids if that's the plan.
Mhm.
And so again, assembling your team, we need somebody
Yeah.
or that can come in. And then that really tough decision when we get to that point where can't stay at home anymore.
Yeah.
They need eyes on, they need a different team now to make sure that they're healthy and safe
Yeah.
and are having a quality of life. So that I hadn't thought about that on your team. Yeah, you can't, because that changes the nature of what you're doing.
Right.
And we don't want that. We want you to coach.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to play your strengths, right?
Yeah.
Play your strengths. And then, you need education, you need resources, you need guidance, you need support. And if those can overlap, and you can't do all at the same time. And if they work together with your valued team members, you're going to do well. If you try to do all of them.
So we're running out of time, but I have a couple more questions, and one just a straight up, how are the Lady Broncos going to do? So we're going to talk about that in just a second.
Great.
I asked you before we came on, what games are the easiest to get up for? And there's a bit of this rivalry with, say, Fresno State, and you're going, you know what, we can get their attention pretty quick. Are there games where you just can't get their attention?
Coach, the program Coach P has built has been so successful. I always say that we're everybody else's rival. Everyone wants to beat Boise State, and it's a pride thing, right? That's great. I always say the toughest team on our schedule is the next one. So we have a close scrimmage coming up, and then after that we have an exhibition game with College of Idaho. So those are, to me, the toughest ones. We coaches, we're so paranoid. We live in the moment, right? We don't look those big ones. But we have an exciting schedule here. We play some NCAA tournament teams from last year that are coming to Boise.
Awesome. You can invite people to come.
Yeah, come to any game. You can go to broncosports.com, see our schedule. Great promotions for season tickets. I encourage you to, if reach out to me via email, and if you have a chance to meet our young ladies. We have people who are majoring in getting their MBA. We got people who are pre-nursing. We just got some outstanding ladies. We were seventh. We had a tough year last year on the court. We only had one senior last year. We have one senior this year. So we were young. Like I joked with Coach, we couldn't play games at night. It was past our bedtime. We had to play all afternoon games. But we had 10 kids with a 4.0.
Holy cow.
You do your GPAs and you turn them in, the school does it. And when we came back, we knew we were good. We were seventh in the country in GPA.
Oh my!
So we've got some wonderful young ladies.
Well, congratulations on
that. Those 10 4.0s, I have no relation to that.
Well,
the only thing we have in common is we either none of us got a B. I will say that. Right?
However, without the support of a strong coaching, team,
a good culture. We're the only team in our league that didn't have anybody go in the transfer portal.
That's awesome.
That's rare today.
Yeah.
And we're all a handful of the country that didn't have anybody. So we go through a tough year. Before that, we had this great stretch of running, and then you have those years, right? You have ups and downs. So we're young. We love our group coming back. We've had some new pieces, some young kids have come in, and it's been a lot of fun and competitive practices. We can't wait to get started.
So you've answered my question, but I think what I want to point out is, for a number of people, getting worked up to make the decisions that we work with.
Yeah. Much more serious, by the way, than what we're doing, but yes.
Well, yes and no. I mean, long-term and quality of life, yes. And your gals are going to be good because they know how to do it, right? They know how to set a goal. They know how to execute. They've got discipline, and they have a mentor or they have a coach that's helping them through that.
Yeah.
So they'll learn the process. When they get to a certain age, it's a little harder for them to get up for this particular game. Sure. It's easy to put this off.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you've got a great system, you got a great culture. Are there times where you need to help them remember that this is a big game?
Oh, yeah, but I think they're good about getting up for those. I think it's sometimes harder to get them up for the games that they overlook sometimes. That's the thing too. Just live in the moment, control you control, embrace the process. And if you do all those things, by the end, it'll take care of itself, right?
Yeah.
I think that's we're such an instant society now, everything right away. You have to go through the step.
And that's what makes what we do a little bit different, because it's not instant.
No.
It is not, oh, we got this today and oh, he's in the hospital tomorrow. This is, and we hope not to be in the hospital.
Right.
But those are some things that we need to get up for. Well, listen, I could do this for a long time.
It's a couple Montana guys sitting here talking.
I
Right?
know we didn't even talk about Montana stuff. Oh my gosh. But thank you,
thank you.
Coach Mike. Appreciate it.
You made it easy.
This is a great way, I think, to get us going, to get thinking about, all right, how do we make it, how do we perform? How do we attain the goal? I love the discussion on clarity, and it's a shared value, right?
It is.
We need everybody.
Yep.
Clear.
Life's a team sport, right? We gotta work together on
Yeah.
this.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you on. Anything else you want to add for?
No, I appreciate your time, and this has been great for me to learn. I've in my personal life with my family and my parents, this is all that good information. So I appreciate it.
Very good. Well, good luck this year. I know luck isn't the biggest thing, but we say that because we're behind you and support you.
Appreciate that.
And sometimes we forget that we have a really fantastic sporting program in athletics over there at Boise State, and it involves women's basketball. And we just take it for granted because it's been so good.
Wow, appreciate that. Yeah. Well, welcome all fans and support.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back in just a few minutes, and we'll get started again.